So last year I made a video talking about how China updated its 9 dash line to a new 10 dash line, and there were two major changes. The first of which was adding a 10th dash to definitely include Taiwan, kind of thumbing their nose at the rest of the world's establishment of Taiwan as a separate country, and then also pushing the dashes closer to the borders with the Philippines, Malaysia, and Vietnam in this region. If you're unfamiliar with what the 9 or 10 dash line is, it's basically an arbitrary line that China drew in the South China Sea based on very vague historical references of a Chinese explorer that apparently sailed throughout the South China Sea. And because he did this, the Chinese claim that they have all of this territory. It is all theirs now. And if we are using the same standard, I guess the moon belongs to the United States. So why is this important today? Well, the Chinese released a 92-page document that gives the Chinese Coast Guard the power to detain foreigners suspected of quote-unquote trespassing within this region, within the South China Sea in the 9 dash line, and they could be detained for 60 days without trial. This is a part of a newly issued directive by the Chinese Communist Party to the Chinese Coast Guard and is set to go into effect on June 15th. Now, on top of being able to just detain suspected trespassers, they can detain people who are helping others move through the South China Sea without notifying the Chinese, and then others can be detained for endangering the national security interests or disrupting social and public order or engaging in any illegal or criminal activity as determined by the Chinese. That's a very broad definition. Now, one other portion of this is they can detain those that are deemed to be residing or working illegally on Chinese held or claimed territory. What this means is when you look at the island building within the old 9 or 10 dash line, you see China conducting its own man-made island building well away from its territory. We're talking about in Scarborough Shoal, Fiery Cross Reef, and the Spratly Islands, Paracel Islands, etc. This is China's attempt to lay claim to the entire South China Sea, and they're doing it by basically building up islands and planting the Chinese flag hundreds of kilometers away from their territory. They do this inside of other countries' exclusive economic zones. China's exclusive economic zone looks like this. This is all of the territory within the red outline that China can mine, do what it wants with the resources. That is their exclusive economic zone. This is what China is claiming is their exclusive economic zone. The entire South China Sea, including Taiwan, and it eats into territory of Vietnam, Malaysia, and the Philippines. And there's actually international disputes over this. And now they're saying that anyone who crosses over from the Strait of Malacca into the South China Sea coming from Japan towards Taiwan or anything operating has to get permission or they can be detained for 60 days. Well, I can tell you who's not going to listen to this. Pretty much anyone in the Western world, specifically the United States, who continuously conducts freedom of navigation movements through not only the Taiwan Straits, Strait of Malacca, but really the entire South China Sea to establish the fact that the global order shows that the exclusive economic zones are international law and not China's arbitrary 9 or 10 dash line. Other countries are likely won't listen to this is Japan. And China's going to do exactly nothing to Japan, to the United States, Australia, European countries. Who is impacted, though, are countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, Philippines. And when this happens, all it's doing is driving these countries deeper into the arms of the West to counter the Chinese belligerents in this region. And so when China looks around the South China Sea and goes, why does everyone hate us? Why is everyone mad at us? It's stuff like this. It's China detaining people from the Philippines and Vietnam, just trying to conduct business within their internationally recognized exclusive economic zones. Meanwhile, China says, that's not yours, that is ours, despite the fact that it is hundreds of kilometers from our territory and not very far from yours. And so this is just another attempt for China to control the South China Sea by saying they own everything, and they're using their Coast Guard as a tool to enforce this because they know that if they start using the Chinese Navy, it's going to be more of an international incident.